Hello everyone, my name is Wes, and today I'm making a video in which I'm gonna try and answer some of the most important questions or some of the most asked questions about Lost Ark. So let's get going. So the first thing I want to talk about is the genre of Lost Ark. I see a lot of people in the forums, Twitch streams, YouTube videos, and so on and so forth, commenting on the game saying that it looks a lot like Diablo, it looks like Path of Exile, and they're thinking that the game is an IRPG. In reality though, Lost Ark is definitely an MMO. A comparison can be made with games such as WoW, Terra, Final Fantasy, and so on. While Lost Ark is a bit different from the specific camera angle, the essence of the game is an MMO and it functions like the ones previously mentioned. You have your daily dungeons, you have your weekly dungeons, different raids that you can do, so on and so forth. The structure of the game also works in a way that you have your character and you get a certain type of gear, which you then enhance continuously until you get a different tier of gear. And then you enhance that one as well. And that progression is how you pretty much progress in the game. So it's not the same style when you're running different maps and so on and so forth and trying to get specific gear off of running maps such as, let's say, Path of Exile, but it actually is more of an MMO where you're actively doing dungeons which are gated by a specific entry, and that's how you progress your gear and then you progress into the game. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is what is the max level in Lost Ark. So in the Russian and the Korean servers, which are the two servers where pretty much the entire player base is at right now, the max level is 60. However, at level 50 you unlock pretty much everything the game has to offer, so you can do all your chaos dungeons, you can do all your dailies, all your raids, you progress your gear and then you get to different raids and so on and so forth. However, you still have an incentive to level 60. You progressively do that by doing the dungeons that I mentioned before, and by doing so you unlock more skill points. Not only that, but you're able to increase the level of your skills from 10 to 12, which is previously not possible when you're at level 50. It is estimated that a character going from level 50 to level 60 gets a roughly about a 12 to 17% increase in damage, so it's definitely worth doing. So the next thing is whether Lost Ark is a PvE or a PvP oriented game. Now, in my opinion, Lost Ark is definitely a PvE game. The devs put a lot of effort into creating these super unique feeling raids and dungeons for all the players that can enjoy. Not only visually, but also sound-wise, they are absolutely top-notch, very beautiful music, and very beautiful visuals. However, that doesn't mean that the PvP scene is completely neglected. I personally really enjoyed the PvP aspect of the game, but there isn't really any sufficient data for it, because the Russian servers are pretty much not very well populated, and the Korean servers, although pretty healthy, they have players that are not that interested in PvP, and this has been the notion for a long time for a lot of different MMOs, because Korean players simply enjoy PvE more than PvP. I'm very interested to see how the PvP scene is going to advance whenever the game releases into NA and EU, and I think it might be pretty good because NA and EU people really like their PvP, so I'm hoping that it spikes up. Okay, so having talked about PvE, let's talk about how it's actually structured in Lost Ark. Although it is pretty similar to how you have WoW and Terra, there's a big difference, and that is that there isn't a holy trinity, meaning that the classes don't fit into shells such as damage dealers, healers, and supports. Pretty much all the classes do DPS, and that's how the raids and the dungeons are based on. The PvE in Lost Ark is unique in a way that it's relying on people actually dodging the mechanics of the bosses rather than there being certain classes which keep them healthy or give them shields, such as support or a healer class. That's why players need to be pretty skilled and understand the logic of the dungeon and different raids that they're doing in order to make sure that they dodge all the different abilities and not get damaged. This is further enhanced from the fact that you can't bring potions into these dungeons, or rather you can only bring a set number of potions based on the specific dungeon, which is either 5, 7, or some other different number. There are a lot of wipe mechanics in these dungeons, especially in the higher tier, and they require extreme coordination at some point in order to make sure that you pass a complete party wipe that can happen at any time depending on the given mechanic. These mechanics are pretty much very challenging and would require all the team members to do a different thing in order for the wipe mechanic to be avoided. Having mentioned this though, wiping, and especially in the higher tier dungeons, is going to happen quite often. So don't be discouraged by that. There is a set limit that you can reset the dungeon. I believe it's a certain daily limit that you can reset it, that you can hit, and at which point you will have to stop and then retry the next day. Another question that I see quite often is whether Lost Ark is gender locked. The short answer for this is yes. It pretty much is. There are certain classes where you cannot choose the gender of your character. However, Lost Ark are taking the approach of Black Desert Online, where their developers are actually creating male or female counterparts of the specific class. Meaning that if you take, let's say, the Berserker class, there is currently only a male version. However, at a certain point of time, the developers are going to introduce a female version. There will be a difference in the traits and in the class itself, which are very subtle to distinguish the two classes. The last thing I want to touch upon in this video is a little bit about the PvP. So you have three main PvP modes, the first being a 3 versus 3, the second one being a free-for-all, and the third one being kind of like King of the Hill style, where you fight a 3v3 but you're actually 1v1, v1, v1, where the winning player continues to fight the next player on the other team with the HP that they have from the previous fight. So the main game mode that I want to talk about is the 3 versus 3. And I say this is the main game PvP mode because it also is the only one that has a ranked system attached to it. And that is the only ranked system that we have in the game regarding PvP. The 3v3 is exactly what it sounds. 3 players versus 3 players. There aren't any specific limitations in terms of what type of class can be on the team. So you can have 3 of the same versus 3 of the same and all kinds of different varieties. A thing which is pretty important to mention is that ranked PvP can only be queued into as a solo. So you cannot bring any of your buddies into ranked. You can only play normals with your buddies in a 3v3 scenario. Ranked is completely solo. The other two PvP modes, free-for-all and the King of the Hill, get a lot less traction. The free-for-all specifically is a 6-player, everyone for themselves kind of a style, which doesn't really fit too well, in my personal opinion, but it could be fun. And the 3 versus 3 King of the Hill style, so 1v1, v1, is more for people who want to try single, like 1v1 PvPs, where they can maybe try out their class versus all the other different classes and so on and so forth. Again, the main one is definitely the 3v3. So thank you all for watching. I'm really hopeful that this video is going to help you a little bit in your Lost Ark adventure. If you have made it so far, please give a thumbs up, maybe subscribe. I have a really cool sock right here. Fantastic. I'm also planning another video and a completely separate video for one topic, and that is actually the pay-to-win topic in Lost Ark. I want to have like a completely separate video for that one because I know it's very, very controversial. So that's why I want to leave that one aside and make an entire video just for that. So hopefully that'll be out soon. Again, thank you for watching, stay awesome, and I'll catch you in the next one.